Talking about the adjusting process, one of the things that we really need to understand is what are prepaid expenses. An expense that is paid in advance for a period of time, prepaid accounts will need to be adjusted monthly, quarterly, annually, depending on the period of time that the transaction was for. Generally, these are going to be monthly or quarterly prepaid expenses such as rent, insurance, monthly, professional fees, etc. So let's look at a demonstration of insurance prepayments, and we're going to be dealing with prepaid insurance, which is an asset, and we're going to be dealing with insurance expense, which is an expense. So let's look at the details of the insurance premium. The due date is June 1st. The minimum due is $130, which is going to be the monthly amount. However, to pay this in full for 6 months, we can pay $780. Alright, so what we're going to do first is we're going to record the payment of the prepaid expense, and then I'm going to show you the adjusting entries and how everything applies to the general ledgers. Alright, so on June 1st, or July 1st, we're going to record the payment of $780. So on July 1st, we're going to debit prepaid insurance for $780. We're going to credit cash for $780. So let's go ahead and post this journal entry to the ledgers. So we had a debit to prepaid insurance on July 1st, journal page number 1. We had a debit for $780, and since there was not a beginning balance, we now have a debit balance of $780. Cash was credited for $780, so on 7/1, on journal page number 1, we had a credit of $780 to the cash account, and the new debit balance, $2,500 minus $780, is going to give us a balance of $1,720. Alright, so now we've recorded the payment of the prepaid insurance for 6 months. This account, prepaid insurance, is going to need to be adjusted per month so we can show the expense of insurance for the periods that it's actually occurring in. So on 7/31, we're going to debit insurance expense for $130. And the reason why I'm debiting for $130 is because, remember, $130 is the monthly amount, but we went ahead and paid up front for 6 months. So we're going to adjust for 1 month's worth of insurance expense for the month of July. So we're going to debit insurance expense for $130. We're going to credit prepaid insurance for $130. So let's go ahead and post that to the ledgers. On 7/31, we debited insurance expense on journal page number 1 for $130. We did not have a beginning balance, so we're going to bring the balance over of $130 for insurance expense. We credited prepaid insurance for $130. So on 7/31, journal page number 1, we credited this account for $130. And if we had a debit balance of $780 and we just credited for $130, we now have a balance of $650 left in this account. All right, we're going to fast forward to August. The entire month of August has gone by. So now we need to adjust and show the insurance expense for August. So on 8/30, we're going to debit insurance expense for $130. We're going to credit prepaid insurance for $130. And then we're going to post this adjusting entry over here to the ledgers. So on 8/30, journal page number 1, we debited insurance expense for $130. Now the overall balance for the year in insurance expense is $260. On 8/30, we credited prepaid insurance for $130. So we're going to subtract from the balance again. That leaves us with a balance of $520. Fast forward to September. The whole month of September is going to go by, so we need to adjust again to show the insurance expense for the month of September. So on 9/30, we're going to debit insurance expense for $130. We're going to credit prepaid insurance for $130. And then we're going to post to the ledgers. So on 9/30, on journal page number 1, we debited insurance expense for $130. And now we have an overall yearly expense of insurance of $390. We credited prepaid insurance we have a debit balance of $520. We credited for $130. Now we have a $390 balance. That is not always going to work out like that. It just happened to be that prepaid insurance now has a $390 balance, and the insurance expense account has a $390 balance as well. All right. Fast forward, month of October. Insurance expense is going to be debited for $130. Prepaid insurance credited for $130. And again, we're going to post these balances. So on 10/31, journal page number 1, we debited insurance expense for $130 to show insurance expense for the month of October. And now we have a new balance of $520 for the year for insurance expense. On 10/31, we credited prepaid insurance for $130. Now we have a balance of $260. We're going to fast forward through November. We're going to record the same adjusting entry. The point of all this repetitiveness is to show the expense in the month it actually happened in, or in the period that it happened in, to follow GAAP rules and procedures. So on 11/30, we're going to record this. We're going to add to this balance. We're going to record this credit here. You now have prepaid insurance with a debit balance of $130. Insurance expense has a debit balance of $650 for the year. And we have one more adjusting entry to do. That is on December 31st, 16. We're going to debit insurance expense $430 and credit prepaid insurance $430. Then we're going to post these to the ledgers. So on 12/31, we recorded a debit to insurance expense. This gives us $780 for the year expense of insurance, $780. And the prepaid insurance account was adjusted for $130 with a credit. And now we have a zero balance in the prepaid insurance account. Now, one of the things I want to point out here is that this whole process is an adjusting process. We purchased a 6-month policy, which means we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of adjusting entries to record. We started off with a $780 balance in prepaid insurance. By the time we did all the adjustments, we ended up with a zero balance. And by the time we finished all the adjustments, insurance expense had a $780 balance. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 adjusting entries that reflect $130 of insurance expense per month.